In this video, I'm going to go over a browser known as the Floorp browser. And if you found the video on YouTube, I will provide a link below the video with instructions on to install it on your system and brief description of the actual software itself. Let's take a look at what the Floorp browser is, and then I'll show you multiple ways that you can install it on your system. Floorp is a free and open source based project based on the Mozilla Firefox. It is a highly customizable browser with a variety of features. It is created in Japan and it has supported for multiple language. Now Floorp is based on the Firefox ESR release. Now the ESR release is the extended support release, which is an official version of Firefox developed for large organizations and universities and businesses that need to set up and maintain Firefox on a large scale. Now the ESR, which is Extended Support Release, doesn't receive updates and upgrades as often as the standard Firefox version. However, it does receive minor updates such as crash fixes, security fixes, and policy updates as needed. And if you click right here on the release web page, and I'll come back to that in a moment, of the GitHub website, you'll see that it gets minor updates when needed and major updates about every 4 weeks or once a month. So let's go to the release section. Now the one that was currently is the version 11.7.1, and that was released 2 weeks ago. So probably in another 2 weeks they will probably release 11.8, which is another majority update, from 11.7 to 11.8. Now a little over 2 weeks ago it was at 11.7.0, so this was 2 weeks ago or about 2 weeks ago, and they showed some screenshots here. If you scroll down, you'll see that this one here was just a little over 2 weeks ago. So as you can see here, it says 2 weeks ago. This one was before that one, of course, because the number, and then before that was like a major release, because as you can see here, the 11.6. So as you can see here, that this was about on November the 21st. So you get minor upgrades and then major upgrades with major security fixes. So it's a very, very active project. If you go here, you'll actually see on the side there's been 50 releases. So this is not some new browser. It's been around for a while, so there's 50 releases of this particular browser. I'll come back to that in a few moments. The Floorp browser is available on the major platforms such as Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can install it from the open source. You can install it the executable file, and for Mac there's a Mac installation, and Linux there's multiple ways that you can install that. Now on the GitHub website there's a lot of additional information, and I'll talk more about that in just a few seconds. And you can actually go to the FlatHub website to actually install the Flatpak version of it. So by going to Flatpak, you can hit install, and if your system's not set up for installing Flatpaks, you can click the setup guide here, or you can just simply copy and paste this and put in your terminal to install the Flatpak version of Floorp. Now the best way to install it, now if you install it by the FlatHub website, as you update your system, it will update the browser as well. Here's a way that if you're used to installing by a PPA, you just open up your terminals and copy and paste the bolded sections one line at a time. I have the illustrated instructions here. The reason I went ahead and did that so that you wouldn't sit and watch it install, because it does take a couple minutes to install. Here's the FlatHub website. Another way that you can install it is you can install it by opening the software. It used to be known as the Software Center. Put in Florp, and it will be displayed as Florp Lightning because it is lightning fast. You can click the install button to install it on your system. You can drop down to install it for the entire system or by the individual user. So if you install it by the user, it will only be showing for the user that you install it for. If you install it system-wide, it will show up for each individual user that uses your system. Once you get it installed, if it's not showing up in your menu, then restart your system, and it should show up and work properly. The first time you run it, it will look like this. It'll have 3 tabs across the top. In just a few moments when I run it, it's already set up. Now I haven't done a lot of customizing just yet, but I have customized just a little bit and read a lot on it. But one thing I do recommend is you to click and get this translate web pages, because since it is a Japanese browser, the third tab up here will show you, now that's in English, but the third tab will show you that it's in Japanese. So by having the translator, any website that you go to that's not in your native language will automatically be converted to your native language. So anytime that you install a browser from another country, even though that most things will be in your native language, sometimes you'll find things that are not. So that's easy to overcome by installing the Translate web page. So that's one of the first extensions or add-ons that I recommend you to install. Then once you get that installed, you can go and set up or import your data from other browsers. I always skip that. I always like to try out the browser to make sure that it's something that I want to use before I import it. But I can tell you from the using it so far, it is a very nice browser. Now I recently did the Mercury install, and if you look here about the Mercury, it's at version 115.4, whereas the Florp is at 115.7.1, so it gets more releases or more current releases than the Mercury, which is also the extended ESR version as well. So I think that if you would like the Florp, because it does have greater security packages and fixes over the Mercury browser, which I'm currently using here to display my web pages. Now you can go across on this particular site, and it's not going to be shown when I open up the Florp browser. The second, when you hit next to go from this one over, even if you skip the import data and hit skip that, it will take you to select a template. This is not to make it your default browser. There are different templates, and you can read a description of each of those. This one right here is like the default template set up by the default, like security features. You can always skip those and go into your settings later and choose the settings to match the way that you like it best. Now this right here, it allows you to select the design. You can choose which one you like the best and then choose next. And then when you're finished, you can say start browsing the internet or start browsing the web. Now before you do, I recommend you to install some recommended extensions. The first one on here is to translate the web page. For any part of the website from the original creator that may be the original Japanese language, it'll convert it to your native language. I do recommend you to install uBlock Origin for your ad blockers and your pop-up blockers. Here's a pop-up blocker that I recommend, and these others is just some that I recommend. You don't have to install any of these. It's just my recommend. Now there are a lot of changes by looks within the settings, but if you'd like to choose a theme, this will work from the themes of Mozilla Firefox, since it is a fork of the Mozilla Firefox web browser. So here's what it will look like when you start using the browser. It'll have your search bar, which is by Google, and you can change the search to DuckDuckGo or any of your search providers. It will display some shortcut links that you can customize and put your own, or you can remove them. And you can remove the little pocket, little ads that below that are news ads. You can click the little gear on the side for settings. You can display what you want, or you can turn on or off the features. So that makes it look like a lot neater. And in just a few moments I'll click on that. And here's a little quick slideshow to show you the different settings. There's a lot more settings. If you look at this right here, there's a lot more settings than what you have in your actually within Firefox. Now Firefox allows you to customize it by using the userchrome.css, and this is the reason I have these up. If you scroll down on Firefox, I do have a section here where you can create the actual file, the user content CSS. And this is just basically just for changing the background home page. There's a lot of things that you can do to customize Firefox, and the same thing with the Mercury. I have it down at the bottom, so that if you want to customize your home screen, you can go down, and it's basically the same instructions, but you're using it for Mercury as here. Now with the Florp browser, you could do that. You can manually go and create that file, and you can manually go and edit it, and I do have additional instructions. But let me open that, and I'll show you some things that I like about this particular browser. Let me go and open up the Florp, which is here, and I'm going to close this out for now. Here's what it looks like after I kind of went over here to the side, and I'm going to enable these here to show you what it originally looked like. That's what it originally looked like. In just a few moments, it'll pull in little ads across here that matches up the things that you'll search across the internet. If you don't like seeing these little recent activities or what's in your pocket or even the little shortcuts, you can go to the settings here. Now this setting is different than your settings here. This settings will bring up just like you're looking at your settings in Firefox or any of the forks of Firefox. This setting here would be basically of your home screen. If you want like 2 rows of shortcuts, 3 rows, 4 rows, or however you can do those. You can say to show sponsored links or remove sponsored links, or you can turn them off altogether. You can turn off the recent activity, and you can even turn off the news article sponsored links from the pocket, and this way it clears up your home page just so that you got the Florp, which is the actual icon from the creator, and the name of the browser, or the name of the browser itself. Then you can go and change whatever search provider within the actual settings itself. Now before I click into the settings, these are the add-ons that I had. This is the little translator that will translate any of the pages. So let me go, for example, and show you the Sacket page, or the Sacket tab. When you click onto it, what it looks like, which is here, the third tab. I'm going to copy this link here, and I'm going to open up Florp, and I'm going to paste it here, and immediately it's in the Japanese language, but the little translator, as you can see, it puts it over here. It immediately converts it over to your native language, and that's something that I like. And I haven't been recommending this to most browsers that I install, but since this is a browser that's coming from a different country, or actually it's coming from Japan, which has a different language than my native language, that immediately translates it over to my language where I understand it, and it works wonderful. But another thing, and this is like Firefox, is you can right click on here, you can customize this particular bar. So you can say you can actually click, you can look at the inspect it, you can copy an image, you can do a lot of the things that you normally could. When you right click it, it just shows a menu. You can say show a status bar at the bottom. You can say the show more of the bookmarks bar. Like I currently turned it off, say never show. If you do have a lot of bookmarks and you like to click on the bookmarks bar, you can decide to show that. By default it's on, but you can right click and say never show, and that gives you a little bit more viewing room within the browser. Now it doesn't have the menu bar up there by default, but you can turn that on by right clicking and choose menu bar, and I'm going to turn it on and leave it on just for the sake of here. You can work with the CSS file by say rebuild the browser, create the file, to open the folder where that file's at, to edit that file, or to edit the file here. So unlike Firefox and any of the other forks of it, like Mercury, where I showed you how, this one actually has the links that will step you through it and make it much more easier to customize. Here it has tools, it has bookmarks, your history, your view, your edit. But in here, over here is your settings, and I want to show you something. Look at the settings here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sections that you have to choose from here. I'm going to open up the legitimate Firefox, and you're going to compare your settings, which I go here and I click on my settings. And if you look over here, you just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you got the 2 at the bottom. So on your Florp, you got the additional ones here, and then you have 3 at the bottom. So there's a lot more things that you can do with the Florp, as in customizing it. So it's very highly customized. Is this one of the most customizable browsers I've ever seen? So eventually, after I use it a while, I will probably make this my default browser. That for the short period of time I've been using it, that's how much I like this browser. And if you look over at the Mercury, you know, I just did this one not long ago. If I go to my settings, you still have the ones just like are in Firefox, and then with the Go Street, it even removes some to prevent you from customizing it itself. So I didn't even bring that one up to compare. So looking at the Florp, I'm going to go through here quickly. There's a lot of things that you can go through here just on the general and set. I mean, there's lots and lots of things. And one of the things I like about it down here is the user agent. You can actually spoof it so that certain websites, if it detects you have Firefox, it won't display it, and that's the default. You can actually spoof it to make it look like you're using the Chrome browser on Windows. So when you visit a website, it thinks that it's looking at a Chrome browser, and it thinks it looking at it from a Windows operating system. You can also spoof it to make it look like you're using a Chrome browser on a Mac, a Chrome browser on Linux, a Chrome browser on iOS, or you can choose the custom and choose a link down here or information down here so you can customize it. I'm going to leave it at Firefox as my agent. That's the default. There are a lot of other things that you can change, and I have went through here. One thing I like about it, and this you don't see in a lot of browsers, you can click this here and it will check for updates to let you know that it is updatable. But if you install it by the PPA as you update your system, it will receive updates. So it does tell you that the current Firefox version is at 15.6, and this version is a little ahead of that because they made some of their own fixes to where it's at 11.7.1. So I do like it to where it shows the ESR version of Firefox is at a kind of behind where it says 115 is the number of regular Firefox, and that shows you what version that they're currently at. Kind of read that wrong. But when the startup, you can have it open previous windows and tabs by turning these features on and off. I'm not going to go through and read all of these. The design, this is where you customize the look. You can choose some of the preset settings here, or you can actually go to the themes link that I have and install the Firefox theme on this particular browser, and it was work as well. The browser management sidebar. Now there is a sidebar that you can turn on and off that comes on the right and left, and you can show the browser manager sidebars, or you can turn it off. There's things that you can do for the web panel settings. You can restore back to defaults if you make major changes. You can change the user icon on it. You can go through the files and applications, show where you want to download the files. You can say to ask always or actually download immediately. There's lots of things you can turn on. There's applications, like if you're reviewing a PDF file to open with, you can choose what application you choose to open with. Your keyboard shortcuts, you can go through here and change the shortcuts, and I'm not going to spend much time here. The home button, this shows you like the home page. It's the Florp home page by default. You can change, you can make a custom URL or a blank URL. I just leave it at the default. The new tabs is also the home of Florp. You can go and change to where if you open up a new tab, what's displayed there as well. Now the home background, this is what I like. This was actually an image from Unsplash, and by default it will have Unsplash. Each time that you open it, it will be a different image. You can click the Unsplash and choose different images from that, or you can choose a custom image, and that actually come from Unsplash that I downloaded that particular file, and I chose to put it in a folder called wallpaper. I could say choose image and choose an image that's on my system. But this was a picture that was actually on here, and I liked it so much that I downloaded it and put it on wallpaper and choose that as my custom image. Because if you don't say the custom image, if you choose the random default from Unsplash, each time you close and open it, it will choose a different background image. And you can customize it to choose from a folder that it will. You can even choose to disable the background where it's blank in the background. You can turn on some of the things that you see on the home, almost like clicking the little gear that I showed you earlier. And here's where you can change your search feature. You can use the URL bar as a search feature as well. If you like to separate the URL and the search, you can click this to where you got your search section. Here you have your URL, but I don't mind having them both combined where I can use that to search as well. You can change your search provider. You can choose Google, DuckDuckGo, Bing. You can choose the search Xing, the start page, and you can actually go and add different providers as well. And once you open it up into a private window, a tab, you can change it. Instead of using Google, make it DuckDuckGo, or you can change that one as well. Here's some search suggestions that you can turn off and on, and here's where you can go and add providers or remove providers from this particular list here. Below that is your privacy and security. Now this is on standard. You can put it on strict. Now with strict, it does make the browser much more private, but it can break some websites from actually showing up or being displayed properly. Or if you want to, you can go and customize your preferences. So I just left it on the standard for now because everything looked good for me. Send web pages do not track. I say when Florp is set to block known trackers. I think that is the default. I didn't go through and change a lot of things. You can actually look for IP address leaks. There's lots of things that you can clear out your data, your cookies when you close your browser, and different ways that it handles cookies. Now I did turn off all the passwords. I do use a password manager. I haven't logged in with Bitwarden just now, but if I do put my password here, when I go to certain websites, I can click on my password manager. So for any browser, I don't let the browser itself save the passwords in it. For example, if someone would steal my username and password for the browser, then that way they couldn't sync my usernames and passwords for all my websites. I keep them within a password manager. Here's where I turn off the forms and autofill. I keep all of that in my password manager as well. You can choose what is shown on the address bar here. You can turn on or manage your permissions. You can block pop-ups by default pop-up blocker here, so you probably don't even need that pop-up blocker. I just added it to it because I'm used to adding it on here. There's additional security features at HTTPS. You no longer need the HTTPS add-on because that's built in most browsers or most modern browsers. Here's where you can choose your DNS. So you can change it, you can increase your protection, choose maximum protection, and I'm not going to go through and read all of those. Here's where you can sync your browsers to import things across, like if you're using this particular thing on other devices, you can log in and sync those accounts where you see the same thing on your computer, laptop, your phone, or tablet. Here's where you can manage your profiles. You can come in here and you can reset it. You can go through in here and open certain directories to allow you to customize the browser and your profiles. Here's where you can add extensions and themes. These are the extensions that I added at the top. If for some reason I think this pop-up blocker is conflicting with the default block-up popper that's within the browser, I can turn this one off without uninstalling it, and if I see that it's not what's causing the problem, I can turn this back on without uninstalling it or reinstalling it. Here's where you can go in and get additional themes. You can scroll down through it, or you can search here for a theme and it will bring up from the Mozilla, allowing you to add it to this particular browser. Here's where you have additional plugins, or you can search for additional plugins from Mozilla. Here's your add-ons and supports that if you click, as I showed you earlier, it can install the add-on or search from add-ons from the Mozilla add-ons, and it will add it onto this browser. So far I've not been using it very long. I can say that I do really like this browser. I mean, it's very nice, and I do like the fact that it's highly customizable. It's much more customizable than the standard Firefox. Standard Firefox, you can customize it through that your CSS file, which you can do as well here, but there's lots of things that allow you to customize it within the settings, and you have your typical little things in the menu which you have here. Now, for additional links on my website, that if you decide to install it and have questions, rather than messaging me, you can always message me, and I might know the answer. If not, if you're posting it on YouTube, some other viewer might see your question and know how to answer it, because I've not been using this long. But for example, if you need more information on customizing the userchrome.css file, I do have links here that will show you how to customize it. Now actually there's links that where you can download scripts to customize it from people that's been working with the Firefox and the Firefox forks, so that you can customize it. I mean, there's lots and lots of things you can do. Here's some additional scripts, and here's more about the customizing or customization to where you can make it look completely different than you see here. I do have some additional Florp links, like the GitHub website, the actual Floorp website. I'm going to say trust on my pop-up blocker. This is right here's what it looks like. So if you click this link, you can download it, and if you're on a Windows system, it will download the executable file. If you're on Mac, it will download the installation file for a Mac. And if I click it, since I'm on a Linux system, it will take me to where I can choose what type of Linux, or if it's actually the wrong platform, you can actually drop down and choose the platform that you're on. But in this case, it did detect that I'm using Linux, and this is what I simply copy and paste and put on my website. I just put it in steps rather than showing you the actual what the terminal looks like here. And you can also install it from FlatHub. If you like to install from source code, you've got your source code link, which is here. But now here on the actual browser itself, the creator's website, this shows you a lot of features that I didn't copy and paste, where since I have the link here, you can go and read more features. You can read more about the sidebar, about the toolbars, the tab bars, and additional information from the actual creator itself. So if you would like to give this browser a try, I do recommend it. Like I said, it's not a new browser. It's been around for a while, but I've just been recently looking for browsers that I haven't covered so far on my website. And I do have a lot of browsers that I've covered on my website. I might haven't went through them recently, but one of the things that I might do in the next few days is I might go through in the browsers that I have here, come out to the side and tell whether or not if they're forks of Chrome or Chromium or if they're forks of Firefox. So that way, if you want to look through additional Firefox browsers or forks of Firefox browsers, you can look at that and look at it and tell, well, this right here is another fork of Firefox, and you can download it. So I do have lots of browsers that work for Linux systems, and most of these that you see on the list not just work with Linux, it will work with Windows and Mac as well. But this right here is just something that's new to me. It's not a new browser, but it's new to me. So if you'd like to give it a try, please do so, and I think you'll like it. And hopefully this video has been helpful to someone, and have a great day.